As the cold air abates in the eastern U.S., we are seeing a severe weather outbreak. Tonight will be the first of 3 nights of severe weather, and Wednesday, a widespread severe weather outbreak is possible across the central Gulf states. On Thursday, we could see a severe weather outbreak, but not a widespread severe weather outbreak, in the eastern U.S. from New York to Florida. So we're going to cover all of that and more tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by the folks at Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. If spring weather ever does return, and you know it will, you will be thinking about making your yard look great, and you can start off with mulch of different colors, topsoil, and anything else you need to make your yard the absolute best in your entire neighborhood. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, serving the entire tri-state area with the lowest prices anywhere, the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And as we all know, the website is
OmniTrueValue.com.
Yes, it is. They did it to me again, Joe. They did it to me again. So
You're talking about the folks in Norman, Oklahoma?
Yes. So
yes.
This morning, I've been cutting my weather in 5 videos early in the morning, and I thought to myself, you know what? I'll wait today. I will wait. They will send out their update at around 9 a.m. and then right around noontime or so, I'll do my weather in 5. So I got back from taking JJ to the dog park. Actually, we went to 2 parks today. So I got back about 12:30. I cut my weather in 5 video. I loaded it up to YouTube, so by the time I got everything done, it was about 1:15. Soon as I posted it, Timothy Veltman, bless his heart, sends me a message saying, "Your thumbnail of that's up there for the severe weather risk for tomorrow doesn't match what SPC did. They updated it." And I thought, well, no, I've got the updated map. Nope, Joe, sure enough, no, 5 minutes after I posted that video, they updated their forecast. Now, it wasn't a huge change. They did expand the area of moderate risk, but it happens to me every single time that I want to update something. As soon as I do it, they send out a new one and they change things. It's uncanny. So when I say that they watch this show, they watch it religiously. They want to get us.
They want to aggravate you, Joe.
They do.
They want to aggravate you. So it's going to be a rough day tomorrow. You know, I've once in my life I did go to Birmingham, Alabama. I'm glad I'm not going to be in Birmingham, Alabama tomorrow. That's going to be a really wild day tomorrow if the forecast for moderate, which isn't seen too often, moderate severe activity does come to pass.
I think we may see a high risk area get put up in parts of Mississippi and maybe even into western Alabama. I was just looking at some of the upper air guidance from this afternoon. It's very impressive. We were looking at we were looking at. I was looking at the 850 millibar level, the roughly 5,000 foot level, Joe. You're looking at winds at that level of 75 knots or higher. That's a powerhouse, and that's going to mix down. And SPC was talking about it in their discussion that there could be wind gusts of some of these thunderstorms of 75 miles an hour or more. I can see it. Looking at what the upper air looks like, I could certainly see that come to pass.
I think it's going to be really a rock'em sock'em day down there tomorrow. And meanwhile, for us, you were right. They placed at least a portion of the greater New York area in a chance for some activity, severe activity, not actually slight. That still remains just off to our south, but Part of the tri-state area is in marginal. Up where I am, it's just general, but it might very well change, and we might actually go into the marginal area as we get closer to the event. And it looks like, according to SPC, that this may be a two-pronged event, one in the early part of the day on Thursday, and then another round of possible severe weather, the more likely round that could deliver late on Thursday and on into Thursday night with the actual cold front pressing in from the west. So maybe a very active day here on Thursday as well.
Yeah, I noticed a couple of things with this, both with what's going to happen, and we do have severe weather going on tonight. We don't want to leave that out. There's a couple of severe thunderstorm watches up this evening, and of course, if you're watching this on a replay right now, it's 7:38 Eastern time. So if you're watching this on a replay, just bear that in mind. That you need to go to your local National Weather Service website page to get the latest information regarding severe weather in your particular area, and you can do that by going to weather.gov. Two things that struck me was, well, I mentioned the wind gusts aloft with the jet streaks that are coming through, both for Wednesday's round of severe weather as well as Thursday's in the east. But the one thing that stood out in my mind was the fact that the dew points in the area of moderate risk for tomorrow, just a couple of days, just a day or two ago, the dew points were down in the low 30s, and they're shooting up into the 60s. Even more impressive in terms of the change is in the east, particularly in the northern mid-Atlantic states, Joe. The dew points Wednesday evening, the dew points are generally in the upper 20s to low 30s. They're going to rocket ship, okay? Sorry, rocket ship up to the upper 50s. In 24 hours, you're going to have a dew point rise of about 30 degrees. That's a big dew point rise, and it just
Well,
goes to how strong the forcing is up the eastern seaboard.
you could see that on the plumes. I was looking at that. In fact, I just brought it up here.
You
For
can
White
you
Plains,
can
for example,
you can share if you'd like.
lovely. I will do that right now because uh, take a look here. Take a look, everybody. Uh, this is this is as of 2 o'clock this afternoon. Dew point, the mean dew point of all the models that are working on this for White Plains is 10. 10. And as you can well see, as Joe just mentioned, look at the rapid climb upward. And in fact, by the time we get to 0Z on Thursday, this is 8 p.m. on Thursday, the dew point is at 59.1 or 59.16. So, yeah, we see a rise in the dew point of something like 50 degrees over a span of just a couple of days. So, a very rapid increase in the moisture. And that will set the stage, obviously, for the potential threat for thunderstorms because, you get that juicy air that's waiting out ahead of the front. And if the front is moving through at a quick enough speed and runs into that, we could very well see, at least some thunderstorm activity and possibly even some locally strong thunderstorm activity again later on Thursday and on into Thursday. And just as a matter of reference here, let me just go 3 hourly QPF. You see, Joe, that there is a spike, a small spike, but a spike nonetheless for tomorrow afternoon, sometime around 5 o'clock, when there could be a little bit of precipitation here. But then it very rapidly tails off and goes down, flattens out. And then here's the main area. This is the dose that we'll be looking for possible severe weather. And that may be coming our way after about 8 o'clock on Thursday and on into the after midnight hours of Thursday night, Friday morning. So again, we have two zones here of precipitation to watch. The first area, that'll be tomorrow. No big deal there. But then the next round coming our way with the potential for severe weather in the tri-state area, that'll be, again, late Thursday into early Friday.
Yeah, not going to get a lot of rain out of this, by the way. These things are going to be moving it pretty quickly, but nonetheless, it is a strong cold front, and not a shock really when you think about it, because you're going from an extreme cold air mass to a, a really rapid warm up. We're going to be in most areas tomorrow are going to have a tough time getting out of the 40s. We're going to see temperatures that are going to make it into the 70s on Thursday. So that's another thing. You're going to have, at least from New York City south and west, there should be ample daytime heating. So the fate of the thunderstorms is really going to depend on wind direction. If the reason I think that Long Island and New England is not in any kind of risk zone is the fact that the isobars would suggest that the winds are going to be more south-southwest than, say, southwest, which is going to have a bit of an ocean component, so that'll stabilize the atmosphere to a certain degree. But go west of New York City into western New Jersey and points west and south from there, it's a different story. The marine layer is not going to the marine layer is not going to have much of an impact. So we've got that going on. We're going to take a look at the severe weather that's going on this evening and tonight. We'll start with that first. I just wanted to give a big welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight. Also want to send our best wishes to Barry Goldberg. His wife is having surgery tomorrow, and it's a bit on the difficult side. I didn't see him on the chat board. He said he might be on late during tonight, but anyway, if you do see him pop on, do send your best wishes and prayers regarding his wife's surgery that will be taking place for tomorrow. All right, let's take a look at what's going on Tornado HQ. When the website is tornadohq.com. And here we go. And again, a reminder, as I said earlier, folks, if you're watching this on a replay, just bear that in mind that what you're seeing was recorded earlier. It is coming up on 7:45 Eastern Time. So make sure you go to weather.gov to get all the latest information regarding severe weather from your local National Weather Service forecast office. So here we have the latest here. And we have two severe thunderstorm watches that are up in Kansas and Nebraska, which we'll take a look at momentarily. As at least as of right now, we've got we have three severe thunderstorm warnings that are working. One just started 10 minutes ago, and this one is in Harvey and Sedgwick counties in Kansas. And there's another one in Butler, Harvey, and Marion counties in Kansas. And the other, which was issued a half an hour ago and is just about to expire, is in Greeley, Sherman, and Valley counties in Nebraska. Now, at least from the standpoint of what we're seeing on the radar, and you can take a look from earlier, the development phase of this is starting to see showers gel up in Texas and into Arkansas. But it's the area up to the north, close to where the upper low is, which is sitting somewhere in western Kansas. We'll give this radar a refresh here. And now, of course, you're seeing the development of some showers and thunderstorms in and around and to the east of where the upper low center is. And in fact, it looks like some of that severe weather is actually coiled right around that upper low center. It's a pretty impressive looking radar from the standpoint of the upper air feature that's driving all this, Joe. You can see the bands of precip of the rain showers that are sweeping up and around in that sort of, that counterclockwise look to it. And again, the storms look like they're forming right near where the upper low. And then in the arm that extends down into Kansas, you're seeing some severe weather there breaking out in parts of south central Kansas.
Looks like a gigantic pinwheel, Joe.
Yes, it
Or
does.
some kind of like a gigantic spiral or whatever. It is very, very threatening, very significant looking. And again, this is not a one-day event. This is going to span the next 2 or 3 days as it gradually works its way across the country, and probably won't be fully done with the United States as a whole until sometime during the day on Friday when it all moves offshore. So from now right on through early Friday, this thing is loaded for bear, and it looks like it's going to try to affect at least most of the eastern 2/3 of the United States between now and then.
Now, in East Texas, western Louisiana, down into Arkansas, there's no severe weather going on right now, but we're going to see a line of storms fire up during the early morning hours, and that line is going to be increasing in strength as it approaches daybreak. So that is the reason why SPC has got the risk area down in that part of the country. The timing is a little different than what we're used to because we're always thinking about thunderstorms being in the afternoon and evening hours. But in this particular instance, in terms of the timing, you're going to see some of these thunderstorms in the southern part of the risk zone start to rev up after midnight, and they may not reach peak intensity until tomorrow morning. So that'll be interesting to see what comes of those. Meanwhile, on that pinwheel you mentioned, Joe, there's echoes in Ohio and into West Virginia. That's that warm front that's trying to set up to our south, and that stick of moisture that you see is probably what's going to be coming through tomorrow afternoon in parts of southern New England and from eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England down into northern Virginia.
Yes, that's what we just saw on the. It's interesting though. It shows up rather well on the as we just saw on the plumes. A noticeable bump, if you will, in terms of precipitation. And yet, when you look at the global models, like for example the GFS, it shows for White Plains in terms of probability of precipitation zero, nothing,
Hmm.
zilch. And in fact, if anything, it shows skies even trying to clear a bit later tomorrow afternoon into part of tomorrow evening. So I'm not sure what this, whether or not it's worthwhile, mentioning a chance for a little shower or sprinkle in the afternoon tomorrow with this system moving on through, or whether or not it just simply stays cloudy and dry. But
Yeah,
one thing we do know,
I put in the mention that there could be a brief shower and then well inland north and northwest up in parts of upstate New York or northern Pennsylvania. It might even be a few flakes of snow as it goes by because you're still going to be in the cold air at least into the middle or latter part of the afternoon, and then you're going to see the big temperature jump come Thursday.
well, we'll see. Like I said, but regardless whether or not we get any kind of precipitation tomorrow, whether or not we stay dry, it's not a major event. Again, we want to emphasize that the main show in terms of possible nasty weather will probably not arrive until sometime later Thursday and Thursday night. So no big deal tomorrow. And again, a big warm up too. We're looking for temperatures on Thursday to jump. Uh, Here in Putnam Valley, we bottomed out at 20 degrees for the second consecutive morning, Joe, and
Amazing.
we didn't get much higher than 35. Yesterday, we briefly touched 30. So today we actually added 5 degrees and went to 35. And tomorrow we're hoping that we'll actually get to or even above 40, which compared to what we've been through the last couple of days, 40 will seem like a heat wave.
The temperature guidance has been way too generous in trying to take temperatures up too far too fast. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the guidance had it into the low and mid 40s today, back a day or so ago, and I thought maybe the temperatures in some places south of New York City would have broken 40 today. A lot of areas had a really tough time. This was a very cold air mass. And I go back to what Phil at Mount Holly said yesterday, Weather Service at Mount Holly said yesterday, that this was probably the coldest air mass that we saw uh, from January up till the end of March. And I agree with that. It might not have been the coldest temperatures at the surface, but at least in terms of what we were dealing with aloft and how much that cold air wound up mixing down, this was indeed a very cold air mass. On the satellite, you can see the impressive upper low spinning away. And if you look carefully up to where Nebraska is, I know the state lines aren't really on there, but when you see the sunset line move over, it just kind of stops at the point where those really stand out bright white cloud tops that are developing in Kansas and Nebraska. Uh, those are the thunderstorms that we saw on the radar. And then we're going to wait. You can see these higher clouds that are down in Texas and Louisiana and over into Arkansas. That's next to develop as far as thunderstorm activity is concerned. So let's look at SPC and what they're doing. So there's your risk area from north central Texas and into northeastern Texas, Oklahoma, western Arkansas, westernmost Arkansas, western Missouri. Two severe thunderstorm watches that are in effect. The one in Kansas looks like, and parts of western northwestern Missouri, that is going to be valid until 1 a.m. And the other is valid
Central
until
Time.
no 1 a.m. Eastern time, so midnight Central time.
Okay.
And the other one is the one in Nebraska and Iowa, southwestern Iowa. That's going to expire at midnight Eastern time or 11 p.m. Central time. So that's the situation with regards to tonight. Now for tomorrow, SPC has they started off with a fairly large area of moderate risk this morning with their forecast, and then when they updated it at 1:30 this afternoon, they made it even bigger. They pushed it further, a little further east. They added an area further east into Alabama and further north into Tennessee. But you can see that large area of moderate risk. I think there's going to. I'm thinking from the dynamics now. I could be wrong here because tomorrow during the overnight they will have the SPC, of course, will be looking at all the guidance. And from what I saw this afternoon, it would not shock me if we wind up with a small area of high risk inside that the middle of that moderate risk zone that covers much of eastern Louisiana down to the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain. The north shore of Lake Pontchartrain. So Baton Rouge is in it. New Orleans is not in the moderate risk. New Orleans, however, is in the enhanced risk. We also have Shreveport on the border of enhanced and slight. In Alabama, the moderate risk extends to about Montgomery and Birmingham. The enhanced risk to the Georgia state line. The slight risk is over me, and the marginal risk in northeastern eastern Georgia and westernmost South and North Carolina. And the marginal risk pushes all the way up, almost but not quite to Chicago. St. Louis is in the slight risk. And by the way, in terms of tornado risk, because they were talking about, Joe, at least F3 EF2s or higher here possible, along with supercells and 75-mile-an-hour wind gusts. But they've got a 15%, a large area of 10% tornado risk, and then inside that they have a 15% tornado risk for northeast Louisiana. It's hard to call which part, northeast Louisiana, and also in parts of southeast Louisiana near the Mississippi state line. I guess that's the best way to describe it. The southern half of Mississippi and much of southwestern and south central Alabama, all under 15% or higher tornado risk for tomorrow.
Now, you've been down there now for about 2 years down in Georgia?
No, 14 months.
14 months. Okay. So you've been down there 14 months. Have you, since the time that you've been down there, ever been in something a slight to even a moderate risk of severe weather? Have you actually seen something that really is the sky getting black?
No.
Frequent lightning, heavy wind. You've not seen a single thing like that.
No. Well, no. Last year, much of the time, I was in marginal risk a number of times, and I think once or twice in slight risk. But as it happened, not that I didn't see thunderstorms here. I certainly did, but nothing that really was overly crazy. Okay, not where I'm sitting. So I guess I was in a lucky spot from that respect. Now this time around, I'm on the slight risk, so we'll see what that brings. And also, Joe,
But you probably up here in the tri-state area. Again, you would expect that down in the Southland or down in the southeastern states that there'd be far more in terms of severe weather or thunderstorm activity, and yet I would have to say, quite frankly, that I think up here we've had our fair share in the last 14 months of a variety of different types of severe weather episodes. And yet down where you are, you know what, Joe? I think I'm going to put the house up for sale tomorrow go down where you
Well,
are.
I will tell you, I will.
This is crazy.
Well, you'll love the property taxes down here. I will tell you that much. Um,
Oh,
we've had a number of times where we've gotten the thunderstorms and we get them at night, and the rain has been exceptionally heavy in those instances. And I mean, I would hear thunder, and I might even see a flash or two of lightning. But as far as severe goes, so far nothing's happened. It's also a little early here for severe weather in this part of the southeast. It's a little deeper into April and in May that we get into we get into some of the stronger cells before everything starts to shift around a bit further north uh, into the plains and into the Ohio Valley. But certainly we're seeing with all this cold air coming down from Canada and the natural reflex of very warm air trying to come up from the south at the end of March, we're getting some after a slow start. It is the amount of severe weather activity in the last 2 weeks has been has been a lot. And tomorrow I think is going to certainly add to those totals in terms of number of storms and everything else.
there's really ramping up, as opposed to what we've seen in the past down there.
Yes. Um, Now I'm hoping that they don't decide to update their forecast because I just had
That's
the page just flashed, so nothing has changed. So that's good. They left it alone. But I'll try and remember to check it before we finish tonight in case they decide to do something further. Now, as far as Thursday is concerned, they have two. They split the slight risk in two. You see it there from southernmost New Jersey and just moving into extreme southeastern Pennsylvania. Maryland is in it, Delaware, much of Virginia into northeastern North Carolina away from the coast. Then there's kind of a break. There's a large marginal risk that pushes up from New York City up to Binghamton to Syracuse, back over to just east of Buffalo, and then runs down the west side of the Appalachians. The second slight risk area on Thursday covers much of Georgia and the Florida Panhandle, except for the westernmost part of the Florida Panhandle, which at that point everything would be over with. I don't. I'm gonna just stick my neck out here. I, 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 I think they're going to. I think we're going to probably see the marginal risk get pushed up a little bit further northeast. Maybe the slight risk gets nudged up a little bit further to the northeast. I don't think we're going to see enhanced risk. I don't think they're going to do that tomorrow. Okay, I. That's something that, as you
they're
mentioned,
probably going to be it's probably going to be like this is not correct, but I'll say it anyway. Case by case situation. But they'll look at everything slowly but surely, and they'll probably make the final decision as to whether or not anybody's going to be, anything higher than slight.
right.
Probably for midday on Thursday. Just as you're making your update on Thursday, Joe, midday.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, so here's what it looks like. I pulled up the NAM. This is the NAM 700 millibar loop during the day on Wednesday, and just take a look at the jets. These brown spots that develop across eastern Louisiana and over into Mississippi, right in there. That is, those are those are 50 knot plus wind. And actually, I'm seeing 50, 60, and even some 70 knot winds at the 700 millibar level. And whenever you see these jet clusters like this is usually a sign that not only you're going to see severe weather, but there could very well be rotation being implied underneath those blotches as they move eastward. Now, this only covers on this loop takes you to Wednesday evening. So I'll go back on the maps and we'll take a look at that to see what it looks like for Wednesday night, because a lot of that's going to be moving into Alabama. And I think that's the reason why they did what they did with respect to extending that moderate risk zone further to the east. Now, in the east for Thursday, now this is Thursday morning, and as we roll this loop along, this is the NAM also. This is at 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 4 p.m., and you'll notice, I'm sorry, 5 p.m. So that would have been 11 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5 p.m. You'll notice from New York City on south and west, you got those jet streaks that pop up. Particularly, there's a concentration there from Delaware down into Virginia. So I think that's why you've got that slight risk zone the way they have it because of that cluster, and then the cluster extends down into north central North Carolina. And here it is at 8 p.m. Joe. It's lined up from Boston to New York City, down through southern New Jersey, and then just off the Delmarva Peninsula into southeastern Virginia, and then it just kind of rolls along as the upper trough starts to swing through early Friday morning. But that's a pretty good trough that's coming through. I think away from the places that have a south-facing shoreline or a wind that's going to be coming up from off the ocean into New England, those areas west and south of New York City, I think, stand the highest chance of seeing some severe weather out of this.
I'm looking here on the chat board, Robert Hill, and welcome, Robert, to Joe and Joe. He says, we have a winter weather advisory for wintry mix here for South Central PA, 6 o'clock tomorrow morning to 2 p.m. Wednesday afternoon. And that's from NWS State College. So that's interesting that we were talking about maybe, and even from last week, it looked like that maybe we might see here a day where we'll start with a little wet precipitation, wet snow in the morning, and then changing to a couple of rain showers by the afternoon. But they do say, at least out to the west, over in north central Pennsylvania, that there's that possibility of enough frozen precip to warrant a winter weather advisory, Joe.
Well, wouldn't be a shocker. Uh, I'm sure they're also looking at what happened on I-81 yesterday and thinking, you know
Oh
what,
yeah.
we better not,
Oh yeah.
we better not take a chance. I mean, the amount of precip we're talking about here is very, very light. The ground is, uh, uh, I know the warm ground people are going to really have my neck over this, but guess what? The ground, the ground ain't warm. The ground is cold, very cold, in fact.
Yep.
When you think about it, it's been basically sub-freezing now since what, Sunday evening in a lot of places. And and
Yeah. I
and,
mean,
t- and, t- and tonight's going to be
tonight here
another
in the
cold
lower
night.
Tonight's in the lower Hudson Valley. The coldest spots in the lower Hudson Valley tonight probably be around 15. And even the warm spots, if you can call this warm, be around 25. So yeah, we're not expecting any precipitation here. In fact, it's going to be mostly clear tonight. But if we did have any precip with those kind of temperatures, the ground certainly is cold and would probably whatever falls stick immediately. So yeah,
Right.
yeah. Welcome to winter again, folks.
And by the way, on the northern part of that risk zone for tomorrow, we don't want to ignore the fact that looks like there's a fairly solid uh, jet streak there that's moving through Missouri and Illinois, and that is on the northern end of the risk zone. But you can see on the southern end with those jet streaks how they move up into western Alabama come tomorrow night around 10 or 11 o'clock. So again, probably one of many reasons why SPC did what they did. And I also would like to just let me get rid of this. Let's get rid of that. Let's go to this. And let's take a look at the dew points because that's a big deal here. And we'll let the NAM load the dew point maps up here because again, it's the rough the destabilization of the atmosphere. Uh, you're going to have uh, some rather strong vertical motions that are going to be lifting up air. But look at the dew point. Look at the way the 60 dew points, Joe, and how they shoot up as far north as they get. I'm rolling it back. This is let's start with um, I want to go back to tonight. So we're going to go to 8 o'clock tonight. Look at the dew points by me, they're still in the low 40s in northeast Georgia. And you head over into North Carolina, you got dew points in the low 30s. You head up your way, and you've got dew points teens and single digits in upstate New
Right.
York. Then
Right.
covering eastern Texas all the way up into Kansas and Nebraska, the 60 plus dew points have shot all the way up. and you've got mid 60 dew points right along the Gulf Coast this evening. But watch what happens there as that low swings eastward, and look at how those dew points just push up to 60 all the way up into Illinois and almost into Indiana. It gets to upper 50s. Meanwhile, here in the east, we're holding on to that dry air, but the 60 dew points are starting to make progress. This is tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock. The dew point in New York City is 23. Okay. In Philadelphia, it's probably right around 31 or so. So we'll start with that. And then as we go through Thursday early morning hours, look how quickly by Thursday morning the dew point is up to 45 in New York City and close to 50 in Philadelphia. That's at 8 a.m. Thursday. By 1 p.m., the dew point in New York City on the NAM model is 58. And I'm thinking probably right around 60 in Southeast PA. And those high dew points push all the way up into up to relatively high dew points into the 50s, push all the way up into northeastern New York and into western New England. So that's a fairly impressive push of moisture that's coming in. And then of course, once the front goes by, here comes the next shot of cold and dry air. However, it should be noted that the air mass that's coming down is nothing like the air mass we just had. It will bring temperatures back colder. It probably will take them below average, but it's not going to be 25 degrees below average.
No, no, absolutely not. By the way, should have mentioned this at the start, but by the way, today, March 29th, the 52nd anniversary, and those of you of a certain age will remember this, today was Easter Sunday back in 1970. It started to rain in the tri-state area at 10 o'clock in the morning, but that was only to serve as a way of cooling the atmosphere, evaporational cooling. The rain changed over quickly to snow, dumped 4 quick inches in Central Park, and up where I live, well, I lived in Throgs Neck in the Bronx, but where I live right now, here in Putnam Valley, about 8 to 12 inches of snow accumulated on that Easter Sunday afternoon. So that was 52 years ago today. As I've often pointed out, Easter being a movable feast, movable holiday, it's controlled by the moon. The first Sunday after the first full moon of spring is Easter, and it can come as early as March 22nd, as late as April 25th. And while we had the snowiest Easter on record in 1970, 6 years later, Easter came on April the 18th, and 6 years later, we had the hottest Easter on record, 96 degrees.
96.
And in fact, the only time in the history of New York that Central Park was the national high was on that day, April 18th, 1976, with 96 degrees. 96 degrees indeed. And that was the highest temperature in 1976 during the entire year. It didn't come in June or July or August. It came in April.
Yes, it
96
did.
degrees on Easter Sunday.
And it
And
wasn't.
that was again 6 years after the snowiest Easter.
And that's the only time New York City was the highest temperature ever in the nation that you know of.
Correct. The national high, the only time that's ever happened, not Bullhead City, Arizona,
Right.
not Death Valley,
I was going to go to Lake Havasu City, Arizona. That was going to be my
Lake Havasu City. No, it was New York City in 1976, April the 18th. Amazing.
Yep. The GFS tomorrow morning does have some freezing precip in southwest PA, which basically dries up, and the NAM also dries it up too, which is probably the reason why maybe some people have it in their forecast, maybe some people don't. Here's the representation of the rainfall amounts from the thunderstorms for tonight and tomorrow as they move across the southern states, extending south from that 984 low in northern Illinois. And that is going to be, the low is going to head up to near Sault Ste. Marie as a 973 low, very wrapped up there. And then we'll swing that cold front into the east. The gradient on Thursday, by the way, we should mention, it's going to get windy. The gradient is actually rather tight. I don't know if it's going to be advisory criteria, but it's still going to get pretty gusty until the front goes by. And then behind it, it'll be breezy, maybe windy at times. I don't think we're going to have advisory criteria. You can see the lake effect snows that show up on the GFS in parts of Ohio and back over into Pennsylvania. This is, by the way, where I'm looking at the 18Z GFS. That high is going to build in. Unlike this time around, Joe, where the thickness got to what, 507 or 506, the thickness this time
Yeah,
around only gets to about between 538, 534 and 528. So it's nowhere, it's nothing like what we just went through. There's a little
right.
weak disturbance that comes out of the plains. That falls apart now completely. So it looks like the weekend should be okay. There might be some clouds Saturday night into Sunday morning as that little disturbance goes by just to the south. You can see a couple little patches of rain showers there over the Delmarva Peninsula. But other than that, we'll have to move into next week. There's another low as we look into the west. Looks like some energy coming into the northwest on Sunday night with some snow in the Rockies. And there's a new low in Texas, Oklahoma. This is for Monday night into Tuesday of next week. So it looks like there might be some severe weather potential here. I don't know if there's enough in terms of dynamics for them to ever to put it in their long range at this point. It doesn't go out that far anyway. But you can see that it does develop another storm that heads up into northern Illinois. It's got another 980 low in Michigan, Joe. So I mean, it looks like this could be uh, Tuesday. Could be another big severe weather day for parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. And then over into Georgia starts to weaken as it goes east. Let's see what it does with that low. It just kind of leaves it there, occludes out, and swings through some showers here along about Wednesday, April the 6th. 982 low there up in uh, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and then that goes away. Yeah, again, we're in a pattern where if you're looking for a prolonged period of warm air, keep looking. Because outside of getting warm ups when these storms go to the Great Lakes and these weather fronts approach, that's your day or a day and a half where your temperatures shoot up, and then after that, it chills down again. So our pattern of mostly below average temperatures looks to me like it's going to continue right into the middle part of the month of April.
We have Barry Goldberg, who just came on board here, and we didn't mention good wishes, Barry, for your wife. He does say that he does apologize for tuning in late. Barry, you don't need to apologize. And says my wife Diane has complications with her type 2 diabetes and must have her right leg below the knees, and that's where it stops. And I above the knees amputated. Prayers would be most appreciative. And Barry, I'm sure everybody on the chat board right now is sending prayers for Diane.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so that pretty much kind of wraps up what's going on tonight. I mean, uh, we don't have much else with respect to weather here in the east. We're sort of waiting for this weather front to play on through, and I guess what I should do is before we sign off here, Mr. Rayo, I want to just make sure. Let's just make sure that there's nothing new from SPC. I doubt that they would. I doubt that they would update this now. Uh, but by the way, on their page, they have a big reddish box headlined: "A moderate risk for severe thunderstorms forecast for Wednesday. A regional outbreak of severe thunderstorms expected Wednesday in the lower Mississippi Valley and southeast. All severe hazards are possible, including widespread damaging winds, some over 75 miles an hour, and several tornadoes, some of which could be strong EF2s or higher." And of course, they do provide the additional links. By the way, the winter weather advisories, I should show this. Let me just put it on the screen. Um, Winter weather advisories covering much of central and western Pennsylvania. And again, that's with that warm front that's coming up. You do have Winter weather advisories up for much of Michigan, including Detroit, the upper and lower peninsula, northern Wisconsin, northeastern Minnesota. There looks like there's a new severe thunderstorm watch up for Oklahoma, for central Oklahoma, that has gone up. Uh, Wait for the watches to load up here. Also, a lot of wind advisories up from Texas to Louisiana to Mississippi, Alabama, and a good chunk of the state of Georgia. I think I'm under a wind advisory. Western North Carolina, all of Tennessee, Kentucky, Southwest Ohio, much of Indiana, a good chunk of the state of Illinois, all under wind advisories. You got a 984 low that's going up to Chicago that's going to get into the 970s. There's no question that there's going to be wind issues with this, and it's been on and off windy here for the last few days. I was hoping that we'd get one day where the wind would just drop off, but uh, looks like I'm going to have to deal with that part of the equation as well.
Yeah, well, it's been pretty windy here, Joe. The last excuse me, the last couple of days. Um, the winds were certainly a factor and made for the cold temperatures to feel all the colder. But I think tonight the winds are going to, at least in the afternoon, and they're still rather busy now. I mean, I'd say northwest 10, 15 miles an hour, even a few stray gusts of 20 to 25. I think they'll diminish after midnight tonight. And tomorrow, thankfully, we won't have to deal with those very gusty winds. And again, tomorrow we're hoping that we'll actually break 40, maybe even get to 45. And then again, there might be that little bit of precipitation in the afternoon, a little shot. Hey, I just noticed, I just looked here on the National Weather Service New York out of Upton, and they're saying tomorrow, Joe, a 20% chance of afternoon rain or rain mixed with sleet.
Yeah.
That's maybe a pellet or two mixed in with whatever that falls if it does fall tomorrow.
Well, I mean, it's cold and dry. The dew points are going to be so low that you get a little bit of
Yeah.
evaporational cooling. Why not? By the way, the new severe thunderstorm watch, which covers much of central Oklahoma and a small portion of North Texas, is a severe thunderstorm watch, expires at 2 a.m. 2 a.m. Eastern Time, 1 a.m. Central Time. So again, folks, if you're watching this on a replay, it is 8:19 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, the 29th of March. So if you're watching this after midnight, go to your local National Weather Service forecast office page. You can get there by by going to weather.gov, or you can go to the Storm Prediction Center's forecast page, and that's spc.noaa.gov to get all the latest watches that are posted. But you could do both, but you should definitely go to your local page to see what they're saying with regards to your own local area. So anyway, the chairman, Scott Briller, still taking a little bit of time off to take care of his own family issues, and we wish him and his mother well. Again, Barry, all the best to you and to Diane, and hope everything goes well for tomorrow. And I don't know what else to say. Just
Yeah.
prayers and light your way. Okay, so that just about does it here for tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. So tomorrow night we're going to have some severe weather fireworks, and we'll be covering it here. And Joe and I will be here at 7:30 Eastern Time, 6:30 Central Time. So do join us. Have a great night and stay safe. Good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.